We are on the final week of the Ultra League for Season 3 Go Battle League in Pokemon Go, and I got a new team. Ryan Swags, got a new team. Now you guys are probably sitting back thinking, Ryan Swag, I thought you said your other team was the best team. Like, how could you use a different team if that other team's the best team? Is that just not the best team then? And I gotta say, there is something to be said for a team that has a general, slight positive matchup against everything, really good neutral matchups across the board, so you're able to eke out those 3-2s very often. But there's also something to be said for walking into an expected meta and using key dominating Pokemon to just kind of push yourself ahead and get some good 5-0, 4-1 wins. So who is this anti-meta crazy Pokemon? Well, it's Slowbro. Now, I never would have dreamed of using Slowbro in the Ultra League if it wasn't for Toshi. Toshi is one of the best players in PvP around. He live streams, I believe, daily. Link in the description to his live stream on Twitch if you ever want to check him out. And yeah, I walked on in, saw him using the Slowbro, and it like clicked. I was like, holy jeez, how could I have never thought of the Slowbro before? This is so genius. And yeah, so I started using Slowbro, and I started winning like crazy. Climbed up from 25-14 to 25-88. Not the most impressive climb, but we in rank 9 now. And you know, you get a 3-2, you only get like 4 points. It's not an easy climb. So where does Slowbro fit in all this? Well, it's kind of like a tanky water type, you know, bulky water. That sounds like Slowbro. But it doesn't exactly behave like the Pokemon in the Fire, Water, Grass core do. It has a decent matchup against Charmers, but it doesn't outright beat them. It often can lose to them. And then it has a really good matchup against the fighting type Pokemon not named Escavalier or Obstagoon, which is pretty awesome. In fact, it can even beat the Venusaur, which can be uncharacteristic of the water type Pokemon, just straight confusion damage, mulch that guy down. It better pray that you don't have a shield. So in that sense, I would say that Slowbro is kind of more of a bulky generalist than a specific type of Pokemon. And one thing that really sets it apart from the other tanky generalists on this graphic is that it does have those dominating matchups. Those matchups where your opponent is just like crying that you brought in the Slowbro. And if you don't line up Slowbro with those matchups, it's still a tanky generalist. It does a bunch of damage. Maybe it can get a shield. It does a good job. So Slowbro is kind of like the next level of tanky generalist. So who to back this Pokemon up with? Well, I'm using Venusaur and Gyarados. Man, it took us how long to get to the full team? I chose the Venusaur to pair with the Slowbro at first because they kind of cover each other in a really interesting way. For example, Slowbro doesn't exactly beat the Charmers, but it can whittle the Charmers down a lot and maybe even get a shield from them. A lot of them don't appreciate the Psychic or Ice Beam damage. And from there, this guy can come in and farm them down a little bit. Venusaur does have some issues against the flying type Pokemon, but if it does get that baby farm, you know, the fire types and the majority of the flying types, they don't appreciate the Sludge Bomb, so they kind of like back each other up in an interesting way. And because both Venusaur and Slowbro are counters to the Charmers and to Venusaur itself, if you think about it, and because they also have issues with the Escavalier doubled up, I really hate seeing this thing. Gyarados kind of finishes off the team, not being too concerned about a Venusaur or Charmander ruining its day because you already have 2 counters to that. And then as far as like an untimely Dragonite goes, who takes care of it but the Gyarados? So that's the basic premise of the team. Another thing I really like about the team too is that a lot of their roles overlap because Gyarados is the flying type Dragon Breath user, but it's also a water type Pokemon like Slowbro. Both of them resist fighting type damage, so they kind of double up on that role as well. And then of course what I spoke of with the Slowbro mixed with the Venusaur, being able to kind of tag team the Flyers and the Charmers a bit. I think it's just a really nice cohesive team. Of course you can play around with the members that pair up with the Slowbro however you'd like, because at the end of the day Slowbro is basically a tanky generalist and can fit into many team compositions. Now before we get into the battle videos, I am going to give you a peek under the hood and let you know what the special IV spreads are of my particular Pokemon. Starting out with the Slowbro, I got the 13-12-14, which is the rank 36 Slowbro. And it was a really nice investment for my part too because it was basically already at level 40. So just 2 more power-ups and then 50k for the second move, and bam, Slowbro ready to rock and roll. You will notice that my Slowbro's nickname is Citgo, and this is a nice reference back to the 2016 gymming days. Basically, this Slowbro lived at a particular Citgo gym, and whenever that Citgo gym would go down, I would know because Citgo would be returned back to me. And I'd light the beacon and let the team instincts around the area know that Citgo has fallen. And who would be in that gym the very next day, or maybe like a day or two later, depending on my work schedule? It'd be Slowbro, the Citgo Slowbro. And yeah, when it comes to Slowbro IVs, you really do want to have the tankiest Slowbro you can possible. Definitely an emphasis on the HP stat as well. I believe it's a 182 HP stat that you need in order to overcome the Empoleon in the straight zero shield situation. So these perfect circumstances don't come up that often, but it could, right? And having that one little extra HP could be a big deal. Mine doesn't have that one little extra HP, so... Next up we have my Venusaur. It is the 15, 13, 12, the rank 1864 Venusaur. Yeah, this guy is not a tanky boy at all. So is there some big brain secret to using this particular Venusaur? No, it's just the only Ultra League viable Venusaur I have that has Frenzy Plant. I actually do have like a rank 3 Venusaur or something like that, but it doesn't have Frenzy Plant, and I'm not spending an Elite TM on a Venusaur, you know what I'm saying? So nothing fancy or contrived with this Venusaur. There is one benefit to being the the runt of the litter, and that is that I do have the bigger attack stat. So if I am lined up against other Venusaur, I can rest assured that I'm going to be getting that charge move priority in the mirror matchup. My Sludge Bomb's going to land first, and it can be pretty nice to protect the Slowbro and the Gyarados in the back, because I really don't want Slowbro to fight Venusaur. Just Venusaur can get to those Frenzy Plants so quickly, and if you're just off on the count just a little bit, like you're not hitting them with confusion at the right time, it can go very bad for you. So having that extra assurance against the Venusaur mirror is really nice. And then finally, I got my Gyarados, and my Gyarados is the 0-13-8, the rank 15 Gyarados. Now this just happened to be the Aquatail Gyarados that I evolved for the Ultra League during Magikarp Day. Now if I did have the rank 1 Gyarados for the Ultra League, I probably would have evolved that on Magikarp Day, but I had the rank 15. And I gotta say, I am grateful that I have this particular Gyarados spread, because it is a spread that is optimized for taking down Snorlaxes, all kinds, even those attack-weighted Snorlaxes. If you had a bulkier Gyarados, like the rank 1, chances are you'd miss the attack breakpoint necessary in order to gain that edge over an attack-weighted Snorlax. This Gyarados, it's got it. So how often am I running into these attack-weighted Snorlaxes that I'm now getting this special edge over? I honestly couldn't tell you, because I'm usually beating Snorlaxes, right? So if I was losing the Snorlaxes with like the rank 1, well then maybe I could sit back and go, oh nuts, those attack-weighted Snorlaxes, but I'm beating Snorlaxes, so obviously it's not a problem for me, right? If you're curious about breakpoints for the Gyarados, Reddit user MarkSunIRL did a really good breakdown on it. Link in the description to that breakdown if you want to be up to date with Gyarados breakpoints. See where your Aquatail Gyarados falls. Oh, and before I forget, my Gyarados does have a little extra something something in the back there. I'm not using Crunch, fam. I'm using the Outrage. The reason why I'm going with Outrage is because in the zero shield situation against the Venusaur, it does take it out, or it's more likely to take it out than it would be otherwise if I was using like Crunch or Aquatail or something like that. So it is a nice Hail Mary throw. The Venusaurs often don't shield it, so definitely nice to have it. And then there's other like niche situations where the Outrage could come in handy. For example, like a Dragonite comes in to farm me down, my little schniblet of HP. He's won the day. The Dragonite counter has been countered by the Dragonite. But psych, I'm not throwing Crunch. I'm not throwing Aquatail. I'm throwing Outrage. And you got hit by it. So your little plan, done. So definitely like that on the Gyarados. It can also be more threatening to Lapras too, but that's like an afterthought. It's mostly about the Venusaur there. And with all that out of the way, we can finally get into the battles. See this team in action. And my first opponent here is JK Falk 0810. Don't know what the numbers stand for, and we're going into the Shadow Dragonite. So I swap immediately to the Slowbro. The Shadow debuff to the defenses means that confusion damage is going to stack up a lot faster, and so he swaps into the Togekiss to soak this charge move. Or not. I guess he decides to shield it, not wanting to get his Togekiss obliterated right away. So he's down to shield, and now I got my Venusaur locked up against his Charm user, so pretty good position for me. I didn't believe that I counted to like a flamethrower, so it was either going to be the aerial ace or the ancient power, and it was just the ancient power, so no boost, no luck for him. And then my opponent here brings in the Gallade. Gallade is a really troublesome Pokemon for my team to deal with, but I am up on shields, so it's not that big of an issue in this set of circumstances. Because as you can see here, the Gallade does reach double Leaf Blade before going down, so if I was lacking at least one shield, that'd be a big problem there for my Gyarados. And yeah, as you can tell, clean house, cleaning the house. Venusaur pre-charged, Gallade got nothing. My Gallade matchups don't always go that way, but definitely good to catch the Gallade when it's a step behind there. Who will the next opponent be for the Swagman? At 2580, we got scot-free Summer. Am I going to get out of this matchup scot-free? No, he's leading with Abomasnow. So Abomasnow is pretty rare to see, despite it being one of the top Ultra League Pokemon right now. I don't run into Abomasnow that often, but when I do, it's usually pretty awful there. So yeah, none of my Pokemon can answer Abomasnow, so I just have to hope my opponent misplays or gets lined up with a really bad matchup. But this Empoleon here is just going to have a field day, throwing out Drill Pecks left and right, taking out my poor Slowbro. And then of course I have the looming threat of Abomasnow in the background. I'm down shields. So yeah, Abomasnow can very quickly and very easily tear my team apart, and it's never fun. There are times I do beat Abomasnow, and this definitely is not one of those times. Try as I might. Angry Snowman. Got a team full of water and grass type Pokemon. It really makes you want to have Charizard, doesn't it? And Charizard is a really good pair for Slowbro, especially in cases like these, and cases where you get locked into an Escavalier. Charizard can be a little bit more helpful than the other partners to the Slowbro. So here we are going into number 3 of this set. We are up against the Tarsi here. Tarsi leading with the Kingdra. And man, I kind of don't like Kingdra leads. I can manage them pretty well most of the time. I just feel like it's kind of like a cowardly lead, because you're really hinging on your opponent, like shielding the Oxzukas, and if you throw the Oxzuka, you're really hoping that you get the debuff, or they don't shield, you know, the Outrage. So Kingdra leads, I don't know, not my favorite. But you can see here that I'm not getting the debuff, though I am shielding the Oxzukas. And yeah, taking that thing out. We're both in a zero shield situation, but I do have the switch advantage now, so that's pretty good for me. And I bring in the Slowbro. What's Muk got on Slowbro? I mean, Dark Pulse and Thunder Punch, but super effective hits coming from me. Pretty good. And then finally, we got Obstagoon lined up to the Gyarados. Nothing to fear here. Pretty easy clap game. So what's he gonna do? Cross Chop? Oh! The Hyper Beam. Yeah, I got beamed here. It was not fun. Obstagoon survived the Ice Beam and then took me out with the Night Slash. So, not always when I run into Obstagoons do they carry the beam, but this time around he's carrying the beam. Very unfortunate. Then my following matchup is You Got Wrecked. So, and Kingdra lead once again. So I have a little PTSD from the previous fight. Like, oh great, another Kingdra. I'm going down 2 already in this set. Will You Got Wrecked give me like a 3-2 or a 4-1? You know, the pressure is on, for sure. So then I throw this Frenzy Plant here, and they decide to take it, and then I just swap immediately into Gyarados. I'm not messing around with this thing, and I feel like an energy lead on a Gyarados could be pretty nice going into whatever they have in the back. So here we got Venusaur. I decide to throw the Outrage here, hoping to get him, but he smells that coming and does not shield it, much to my Gyarados' chagrin here. So at the level he's at right now, I'm not confident if Slowbro can actually confusion him down before reaching a Frenzy Plant, so I just bring in my Venusaur to soften it up and get it to the point where it will get taken down by the confusions. So final Pokemon in the back after that is the Crustle, which is a little bit dicey. I don't know Crustle Sims, so how much is this X's are going to do to me? How fast is he going to get to it? Apparently not fast enough, or Crustle's just not tanky enough to manage the Slowbro. And then, as calculated, I'm able to take down the Venusaur before it reaches the Frenzy Plant. So that's one thing you really have to be careful with when it comes to Slowbro. Confusion definitely hurts the Venusaur, but the Frenzy Plant hurts a lot more. And then my next opponent in this set is going to be the Stealthless, leading in with the Magnezone. Magnezone's a pretty good matchup for Venusaur, even though it is a steel type Pokemon. It's so like fragile on the defenses that Frenzy Plant just brutalizes it. You can see right there, over half the HP, did not have a Wild Charge debuff yet, and just not appreciating the Frenzy Plant at all. Overall, this matchup is typically in Venusaur's favor, but it can be pretty dicey because if they land the Wild Charge, it can take you down pretty quickly, especially when you're going with a very frail Venusaur like I am. So swaps to the Shadow Dragonite, and I decide to swap to the Slowbro. That way I can soften it up and get to a point where Gyarados can cleanly take it out, so I don't really want to give too much edge to my opponent here. Fortunately for me too, they swapped to the Togekiss, allowing me to line it up perfectly with the Venusaur, get that Sludge Bomb in before they can reach their charge move, and yeah, just take it out. Then final Pokemon here, we got the Dragonite, and because it did have that damage taken down, thanks to the Slowbro there, pretty easy KO. Very easy to clean up. Alright, then I got some extra matchups here to show you some more dynamic aspects of the team. Here I'm up against Puff Dragon, so we're going Venusaur into the Gyarados, and he swaps to the Gallade. Now Gallade can be very dangerous for my team if I don't swap to the Slowbro right away, because if it's able to reach a third Leaf Blade, well then that's going to be very bad news for my squad. Just basically hurts everyone on my team, so yeah, gotta play this pretty carefully. Now as far as the one shield situation goes, depending on IVs and of course depending on how fast I swap in, it can be a tie, or I can win narrowly like I did here, or sometimes I win with like a pretty big chunk. So if you are using a Gallade, definitely make sure to check out how yours performs specifically against the Slowbro matchup, because it can be pretty dicey. But because Slowbro did take over that matchup and we did have the one lead, we're just able to clean house in the end game here. I mean, Blaziken versus Gyarados, maybe if they had Stone Edge, that could work out for them. Then next up we got Bun Fuda here, leading in with the Shadow Dragonite. So once again, Shadow Dragonite ain't got nothing on me, but here I decide to swap to the Gyarados. I think in this particular set, I got brutalized by like Obstagoon twice, swapping to my Slowbro there. So I swapped to the Gyarados, like ain't no Slowbro gonna get me today. I'm able to also brutalize down the Venusaur there. You can see landing the Outrage can allow you to flip that Venusaur matchup, which is pretty nice. Shadow Dragonite comes back in, does not want to deal with Gyarados at all, and just spanks it, but I do have the Slowbro. Thick as can be, it doesn't care if it's a Shadow Dragon Claw, this thing's gonna tank it. And it's got Ice Beam on lock, ready for the Obstagoon in the back. Venusaur versus Obstagoon, I guess as long as this thing doesn't have a Gunk Shot or Hyper Beam, it's a pretty safe matchup for me. They don't get any sort of bait in if they were trying to go for the bait. I think given their counts, they're probably cross-chop and they're just like, Night Slash, please give me the boost. Did not work out for them. Hitting them with back-to-back Frenzy Plants. We're taking this close to the wire here. Will this Night Slash take down the Swagman? And it doesn't. Sliver of HP going in with the Frenzy Plant. I might not have the tankiest Venusaur, but I guess it gets the job done. And that's the important thing at the end of the day. And then next up we have Io-Mero going in with the Swampert against the Venusaur. So super one lead here. And they swapped the Skarmory. And I kind of paused because like, what do I bring against Skarmory? In retrospect, it probably would have been in my best interest to bring in the Slowbro because Gyarados here can't really tank any of its charge moves, so Skarmory is pretty deadly to the Gyarados, especially in this circumstance where I gave it some extra energy because I was like, a Skarmory in the Ultra League? For real? You know? But yeah, no, so my Gyarados here just having a miserable time fighting against the Skarm. Skarmory does end up taking me out, and I just go straight to the Venusaur knowing that I have Frenzy Plant pre-charged, so it just does not harass me with no Brave Bird, no Sky Attack, no nothing. And then they bring in the Doom. They bring in, oh god, Escavalier. Yeah, so even though I am having a positive matchup here against the Swampert, them having Escavalier in back is just not a good thing for any member of my team, because the Slowbro here, you know, if it gets hit with the Mega Horn, it's done so. And as far as Venusaur goes, if it gets hit with the Frenzy Plant, if it gets hit with the Mega Horn or like anything, like Venusaur cannot take this thing on. It's a pretty miserable fight. So if I was more prepared for it, or maybe if I got like the defense drop from the Slowbro, things could have gone a little bit better, but usually Escavalier in the back, when Gyarados is already taken out of commission, just ends up being a miserable situation for me. And then for my final fight here, I did get lined up with FP Sticks, who is also another top battler here. If you want to check out his YouTube channel, link in the description, and he's going with a Machamp in the lead. Taken after the Swagman? Perhaps. So this is a pretty one lead for the Venusaur. There isn't a whole lot to be afraid of from the Machamp because it's not a Shadow Machamp, it can't really win that lead. And then they swap to the Snorlax. Knowing that Snorlax isn't the best matchup for the Slowbro, I decided to throw a Frenzy Plant on it, get some damage in there, and then take it out nice and smooth with the Slowbro. Because at the end of the day, the body slam damage doesn't really threaten Slowbro that much. It's all about the lick damage coming in. And then knowing that he's got the Machamp back there, he doesn't want to deal with Slowbro, right? So he brings Machamp back in, very likely to soak up the energy from the Psychic, and he does. And the final Pokemon is Drifblim. So Drifblim is going to be a bit problematic since it's up a shield, so I decided to throw a Frenzy Plant on it, get as much damage in as I can, so Gyarados can hopefully farm it down in the end there. In order to beat Gyarados, he does have to land both a Icy Wind and a Shadow Ball, so if I can time this just perfectly, things could work out for the Gyarados here. We get to the point where I feel like I've counted up a Shadow Ball, so I swap straight into my Slowbro, and I don't know if my count was off, or maybe FP Sticks smelt that swap in coming, but did not work out, just by a hair there. So as you can tell, Slowbro is definitely a force to be reckoned with. There's a lot of team compositions that just don't know what to do when Slowbro comes in because they never fathomed a Slowbro would be coming in to counter them in the first place. So thank you very much, Toshi, for turning me into a Bro-liever and schooling these fools with the Slowbro in the Ultra League. If you got any questions on this content, of course, comment below, let me know what's up, I'll be happy to help you out. If you enjoyed this content and you want to see more like it, well, make sure to subscribe to SwagTips. I'd also like to give a special shout out to these Patreon supporters. If you want to support the Swagman on Patreon, link in the description.